In this video, I'll show you how to build an AI-powered competitive monitoring system using AI agents that automatically track your competitors 24/7. By the end, you'll have a complete system that any business can easily set up to monitor their specific competitors, automatically detecting pricing changes, feature updates, and strategic shifts before they impact your business. I'll use Monday.com, ClickUp, and Trello as examples, but this works for any industry. Let's set the stage on how most businesses handle this today. They check competitors manually, visiting websites weekly, taking screenshots, updating spreadsheets. This is labor-intensive, prone to error, and misses most competitive moves because changes happen between check-ins. Here's a better way. This AI system can monitor any competitors in any industry automatically. I'll demonstrate with Monday.com, ClickUp, and Trello as examples. We start with the Google Sheet that specifies the competitors we want to monitor and their pricing pages. A schedule trigger kicks off at midnight, then looks up each competitor in the Google Sheet. The Competitive Intelligence Analyst AI agent, powered by OpenAI GPT 4.1, uses Dakota's MCP server to scrape the pricing pages for all the relevant information. All the data is merged, and the summary agent summarizes the changes, formats everything into a professional HTML report, and sends it to Gmail and updates Google Sheet with the latest information. Let's simulate a change and see the system at work. We're going to set the previous pricing of Monday.com's standard plan from $12 to $10 and see the system detect it in the report effortlessly. You can see here it's detected the change in the email report. Now, here's what makes this truly amazing. You're getting enterprise-level competitive intelligence at a fraction of the cost. The entire system costs under $50 monthly, $30 for Dakota AI scraping, $10 for OpenAI credits, and $10 for the self-hosted automation platform. Compare that to $200 to $500+ for traditional competitive intelligence tools, and you get full customization control, real-time data scraping, AI-powered insights, automated workflows, scalable architecture, and you're not tied to one provider. And the best part? This entire enterprise-grade system is accomplished with less than 10 nodes. Let's look at the technology behind this magic. I'm in the Smithery.ai playground. I type Dakota to connect to the MCP server. The secret is natural language scraping. Instead of writing complex code to extract data, you simply tell the AI what you want. I just type extractmonday.com's pricing plans at monday.com/pricing with full response. The Dakota's MCP server navigates to the web page, understands website structures, and scrapes this with ease. But there's so much more you can do. Want to check competitor pricing from specific regions? Just ask for scrapemonday.com/pricing from a Canada IP address and tell me the pricing, and it handles the geographic targeting automatically. The Dakota MCP server gives you incredible flexibility and power. Let's now go into the next level of details on how this is built. We'll start with the setup and then walk through the nodes step by step. Setup takes about 5 minutes. First, let's create your Dakota account with a 7-day trial with 1,000 free scrapes. See link in video description to claim your free credits. Next, go to your dashboard and select Web Advanced and note the user ID and password. You'll need this when you set up in Smithery.ai. Next, we go to Smithery.ai and type Dakota to find the MCP server. We'll select the Generate URL button. We then enter the credentials we got from before into the fields. This URL will be used in n8n to set the credentials to this MCP server.
All right, let's walk through this build step by step. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the price monitoring spreadsheet. So the price monitoring spreadsheet is where we get the data and also where we save the data. So we have at the top the competitor, URL of the pricing page, when it was last updated, the previous day's pricing, and the difference. All right, so this is the difference that the AI sees. All right, so in this spreadsheet, we're monitoring Monday.com, ClickUp, Trello, and 2 other competitors. And then we put the pricing sheet, the URL, in this column here. Next, what happens is that the AI will scrape the websites, the particular pages, and then it will populate this particular column here, right? So this is the previous day's pricing. And so there's a lot of details in here that the AI will populate based on what it finds. And then on this column here is the difference. So on the day that it's scraped, the difference will be shared here in this field. So now we're going to go to this canvas here. So the first thing we're going to do is do a schedule trigger. So this is triggered at midnight, and so this trigger will start and kick off this flow. So the next node is a Google Sheet node. So what will happen here in the Google Sheet is it's going to pull from the price monitoring spreadsheet. So I have the doc here, and it's going to get all the rows and present that as a set of data for the next element, right? So what's going to happen is that if I have 5 rows, this is going to give me 5 different outputs, right? So in each of the outputs will execute a flow before it merges. All right, so you can think of this as a loop. So it's going to take each of the elements that I want to monitor, and it's going to do a scrape for each, and do analysis, and then loop back here for all 5. All right, so then we're going to go to the next node, which is a competitive intelligence analyst. All right, so this is a AI agent node, and let's start with the system message, right? So the system message will dictate how this works, right? So this is a pricing analyst specialist. So their task is to scrape the pricing pages and compare them with previous day data to detect the changes, right? So I've told it that it needs to use the scrape as markdown tool to get the web page content. So this is where the Dakoto MCP server, what we did in this Smithery.ai playground, this is where it will take the MCP server, take the scrape as markdown tool, and then go and get this information. So it'll scrape the website content, analyze the price information, and then I've given it some additional information. So that's this full response. This is telling the Dakoto MCP server to take all the data as opposed to just a portion of the data, which for long text, it may need to truncate. So I just said, no, do the full response. So then I tell it here to return only these 2 fields in the JSON, the pricing summary and the differences summary. So the pricing summary, I give it additional detail. I just want the top 5 features for each plan, but you can say, give me all the features for each plan. So you can do that. And then the difference summary, I give it some more details, right? So then I give it some more specifics here. And then what I do here is in the user message, what I pass into this node is I say, please scrape and analyze the pricing page at this URL. So this is coming from the spreadsheet. So when the spreadsheet is pulled, we get this information and we get this URL from the URL field of the spreadsheet. So I tell it to then go ahead and look at the previous pricing information. So this is also from the spreadsheet. So we pull from the spreadsheet this pricing information from yesterday. I tell it specifically to focus on the pricing plans and various details there, right? And then I tell it to provide the analysis in the JSON format. Now, I'm going to go back and show you these other 2 nodes that flow into this AI agent. So this structured output parser. So this is effectively telling the AI how to structure the output. So as I mentioned, we have a pricing summary, right? So I'm going to give it description of what it should be, and then a differences summary and another description here. This ensures that the output is in JSON format and the next node can process it properly, right? So we have this information here. And then what we're going to do is go back to the main node. So we'll go back to this summary here, and then take a look at the next node. All right, so the Dakoto MCP client. So this is what we were showing in the Smithery.ai, the playground. All right, so this is how we connect the n8n workflow to the Decodo MCP server. All right, so I'm using the MCP community node for n8n. They don't currently support HTTP streamable, but the community node does. So n8n will already has a PR for that, and they're going to incorporate this soon. So in the meantime, I'm using the community node MCP client. So what I do here is I specify the generated the URL from Smithery. So this is the generate URL that we got from the previous step. So I just copy that as a credential. So this will help me connect my n8n workflow to this server, right? And then I just tell it to use the execute tool and then use the scrape as markdown as the tool to call, all right? So I'm going to then use the GPT 4.1 model. This is a very good model, very powerful model to be able to detect the differences. So I've used this. So once again, what's going to happen is that I'm going to get all the data from here that want to scrape, and then this competitive intelligence analyst will process each of this in turn. And then now I'm going to do a merge. All right, so what this will do is it's going to take all the, in this case, 5 competitors I want to monitor, and it's going to wait for each one to finish, and then it's going to combine the result into one data format. So this will then have one format here that I can then go to the next node, and the next node is where I update. All right, so this will update with my Google sheet, the same Google price monitoring sheet with the latest information, right? So I've done some mapping here. So the output of each of the scrapes will map to the competitor, the URL. So this is from the spreadsheet itself. And so this last update is populated by today's time. And then so what we're going to do is populate the previous pricing. So now the what I've just scraped now becomes the most current pricing, and then I'm going to look at the difference summary. Right, so this will map each of the elements that I've scraped into a format here. Right, so then I finish this node here, and then I'm going to go to the next node, which is the summary AI agent. All right, so the summary AI agent, let's start again with the system message. So in this system message, what we're going to do is give it a persona. So this persona is a competitive intelligence analyst, and their role is to synthesize the pricing data from multiple competitors and create a credible, actionable business intelligence report. So the input is competitor data. So I'll show you that in the user message. So what we're going to do is analyze the provided competitor pricing data and then create a professional summary that highlights the list of competitors being monitored and the key pricing changes, right? So we give it some information here, and more importantly, we tell it to output the format in HTML. So then in the user message, what we do is we give it the competitor data. So there's a bit of code here which basically combines all the information from the previous node and just makes the competitor information and the difference summary into one JSON array that is passed in so that we can analyze that. All right, so we have that information there. And then lastly, this information is then passed into a Gmail, and this Gmail node, I just send it to an email address, and I send it a subject title, and then the specific message that I would like.
To wrap up, we've built a complete automated competitive intelligence system with just 9 nodes for under $50 a month. But this system scales beyond basic monitoring. Track competitor job postings to predict strategic moves, monitor their content marketing for positioning changes, or monitor competitors across different markets, regions, and customer segments. The same system that tracks SaaS pricing can monitor e-commerce competitors, service providers, or any business model. This isn't just monitoring, its strategic advantage. Like and subscribe for more AI automation tips, and drop your biggest competitive monitoring challenge in the comments. See you in the next video.